Good day, class. I am teacher Girly A. Manulat, your earth science teacher, and today we'll be discussing another topic under mitigation strategy in lesson 4. Our topic is all about public education and preparedness programs. Upon knowing our topic, what comes to your mind when you hear about public education and preparedness programs regarding mitigation strategies in disaster? Okay, this is an important component of disaster mitigation strategies because it helps individuals, the people, the communities to take steps to reduce their vulnerability to any hazards because people or the community is informed or aware by public education and they will already prepared by any hazards. What is public education? Public education is a vital component of disaster mitigation strategies. They empower individuals and communities to take proactive steps to reduce their vulnerability to hazards and build resilience. So simply, public education, it refers to the process of informing and preparing the public about potential disaster, their risk, and how to respond effectively. This is crucial in order to minimize the impact of disasters. So we have here three components of public education preparedness programs. First, we have community engagement and empowerment. Next, we have disaster preparedness for vulnerable population, and lastly, business continuity planning. So first, we will be discussing community engagement and empowerment. Under community engagement and empowerment, we have building community resilience through social networks. It's the process of strengthening social connections and networks within a community to enhance its ability to prepare for, respond to, and recover from disaster. So it means making communities stronger by fostering strong relationship and connections among people. It's like creating a sense of belonging and shared responsibility so that everyone can work together to prepare for, respond to, and recover from disaster. What is resilience? Just like a rubber band ba, when people or the community face with a challenge, it might feel stretched thin. But if the community is building resilience, they will stretch but will also bounce back to the original shape. It's about having a strength to overcome the challenges. Next, we have participatory disaster risk mapping. It is a process in which community members are involved in identifying and mapping the hazards and vulnerabilities in their community, as well as developing strategies for reducing their risk. So, here in participatory disaster risk mapping, it is just like creating a treasure map, but instead of finding gold, it's about finding and understanding the dangers in a community. In making a disaster map, you should know more about your community. Of course, you should have a local knowledge, yes, and mark the areas where prone to flooding, landslide, or any other hazards. It's also identify places where people are most vulnerable, like homes that are poorly built or areas lacking emergency services. Next, we have training community leaders in disaster preparedness. It's still under community engagement and empowerment. It's providing training and education to community leaders in disaster preparedness, response, and recovery to enhance their capacity to lead and coordinate community efforts. As a leader of a community, they are one of the responsible individuals to organize the community by helping everyone to be a better prepared. Some of our leaders in our community are attending workshops or seminars. They learn the different types of disaster, how to prepare for them, and how to respond during an emergency, and how to help the community recover afterwards. They work with the local authorities to ensure everyone is safe. Now we will discuss about disaster preparedness for vulnerable population. Under this topic, we have special considerations for the elderly, children, and people with disabilities. The unique needs and vulnerabilities of this group must be taken into account when developing disaster preparedness plan and programs. Why should we consider this person during calamities? Disaster preparedness plan must prioritize the unique needs of vulnerable population like the elderly, children, and people with disabilities because these people face different challenges during disaster due to their physical, cognitive or social limitations. Accessible emergency shelters and evacuation routes. This is crucial for ensuring the safety of all individuals during emergencies, especially those with disabilities and other vulnerable population. Example, shelters should have features like accessible restroom. The evacuation route should be clearly marked that is accessible to individuals with visual problem, signed language, and there should be an accessible transportation, wheelchairs for the PWDs and buses, comfortable seating for elderly, of course, and children should have designated areas for them, including age appropriate activities and supervision. Here we have providing information in multiple languages and formats. To make sure everyone in a community is safe during a disaster, it's important to share information in ways that everyone can understand. This means using multiple languages and formats like written materials, videos, and audio recording. And our last topic under public education and preparedness program is business continuity planning. First, we have developing business continuity plans for organizations. It's a process of identifying and assessing the potential impacts of disaster in an organization, operations, and developing strategies and procedures to ensure the continuity of critical business function. This is a strategy that helps organization prepare for and recover from disruptive events. It is involved identifying potential risk and assessing their impact on the organization operation. This is to ensure the continuity of business function, minimizing financial losses. Second is the risk assessment and mitigation for businesses. The process of identifying and assessing the risk that businesses face from natural disaster and other hazards, and implementing measures to reduce or eliminate those risks. This is to ensure the survival and continued success in business. This is involves identifying and evaluating potential threats. Once risks are identified, business must assess their likelihood of occurrence and potential impact and to prioritize those with the highest potential to harm. And finally, the last is ensuring supply chain resilience. The process of identifying and managing the risks and vulnerabilities in an organization's supply chain to ensure the community of the supply of goods and services. So, ensuring supply chain resilience means making sure your business can still get the materials and services it needs, even when unexpected things happen. It is about identifying weak points in your supply chain and taking steps to make it less vulnerable to disruptions like natural disaster. That's all for today, class. I hope you learned from our discussion. Thank you for listening and goodbye and see you again, students.